And what is up, everyone? I'm Joe DeHoyos. I am the host of Beyond the Woodline. And tonight I have with me Craig and Melissa from Fox Valley Ghost Hunters. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great, thank
Doing
you.
great.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we got a little chance to talk to each other before we went on the air. Told you some of my crazy experiences. So, Craig, tell us first about you, man, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been doing the ghost hunting stuff for about 11 years. I started when I moved to the Fox Valley to kind of, back in way in the early years, there were no ghost hunting shows on TV. So suddenly they all started popping up around 2005. And it took me till about 2010 to say, hey, I'd like to start my own show or my own ghost hunting team. So started out small with just a bunch of friends and family and grew into what we are today. So
So, what actually got you involved in the paranormal?
I lived up north, northern Wisconsin, by a house called Summer Wind. And Summer Wind is actually listed in the top 10 most haunted places in the United States, even to this day. So when we used to go there as teenagers, we used to see all these crazy things like shadows and lights would come on in the house, but yet there was no electricity going on to the house. So it was kind of where everything got started there. My mom passed away when I was 26 of breast cancer, and me and my friend were sitting in the living room where and she used to sit on this rocking chair. We were all sitting on the couch, and suddenly the rocking chair started rocking a couple nights after she passed away. So I was kind of intrigued in what's on the other side.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your mom, man. We talked a little bit. Cancer's a terrible thing, man.
Yeah.
What about you, Melissa? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
When all my life, basically, I've seen ghosts. I can hear them. They talk to me. As I got older, it kind of went away a little bit. So I wasn't seeing them everywhere. So, like when I was a teenager, they were walking by me all the time. I could hear them talking, and it kind of went down a little bit. And the paranormal is a part of who I am. So I really, really missed that. And that's where I went and I searched for a team so that I could still have that as a part of my life. So I still have experiences, but this is just another way for me to communicate.
Cool, man. And Craig, how long have you had the team together?
Um, Different parts of my team, like I said, we've switched members quite a bit. Everybody goes off to school, gets married, and does all this other stuff. But my current team, some of my current team members have been around 3 years, and the longest members have been around like 9 or 10 years.
Cool, man. Then what are some of the first places you started to investigate?
The first places I started to investigate actually was a old hospital in New London, Wisconsin, and it actually even was appeared on Dead Files. They had a episode on the Dead Files with Amy and stuff, and that was like our first investigation. And we actually had a newspaper that followed us around on the investigation, and we heard a little girl say hello. I captured it on the first floor on audio. We actually heard it like a disembodied voice. It came through on audio though, so we actually captured on the voice recorder too. And the guys from the newspaper came running down from the third floor saying, "Oh my God, you won't believe what we just heard." I'm like, "Did it say hello?" And yeah, they caught the same exact voice, which was kind of cool that they caught it 3 floors up and we caught it all the way on the first floor.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like
Hmm.
that. So it was like, well, I guess you said a disembodied voice, but I guess it was pretty loud then, right?
Yeah, it was pretty loud, but it's kind of amazing to catch it 3 floors up in concrete
Yeah.
on the third floor and be able to catch it down below on the first floor at the same time. Almost like it was like tossed up into the like the audio feed.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that.
And
And what
actually,
about you?
sorry, that was
Okay.
actually the first. That was actually the first time I actually heard a disembodied voice too. It kind of freaked me out because I'm like, new to this, and I never thought to actually capture something like that.
Yeah. What about you, Melissa? What was one of your first investigations?
One of my first was in Alton, Illinois. That's one of the most haunted towns in the United States. It was called Mineral Springs. A little story on
Okay.
that was we got not really a paranormal thing, but at the end of the night, I plopped down on a lounge chair, and there was a big needle sticking straight up that somebody must have planted there, and it went in my butt. And so my joke is that ghost hunting is a pain in the butt.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And what got you into the whole paranormal field?
As me,
Yeah.
mine was more just because, like I said, growing up, I would see ghosts and hear them, um, and just it feels like it's part of who I am. And I love the history of the places. I love just hearing the voices and seeing the stuff, and just knowing that there's more beyond life.
Right. Right. And what got you two together? How did you guys meet?
So I was looking for a team and found Craig somehow, but contacted him, and then we met up at a haunted school called First Ward, and a big group of us did an investigation, and kind of been the lead investigator ever since, I guess.
Mhm. That's pretty good.
Even though I
Yep.
yelled at you for talking to us while we're trying to sleep.
He did, because they went to bed by like midnight, and I'm like, what kind of ghost hunters are these?
Yeah. So, like, what are some of your favorite places that you guys investigated together?
I love Farrar. I've been there. That's over in Iowa. I've been there about 52, 53 times.
Oh, wow.
The place has never disappointed us. Unfortunately, it is on the market for sale, so this might be the last year that it's around. We sometimes will host Paracon events over there. We hosted them for about 2 or 3 years in a row with some pretty good ghost hunting people, stars that came out.
Have you guys ever been anywhere that like legit scared you?
I don't really get scared, but at the Sheboygan Asylum here in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, we host tours pretty much every Friday and Saturday night. One night I had an experience where I lost my eyesight. I couldn't see anything. My hearing went away. Got a massive headache. It got really bad, and I ended up having to leave, and now I'm still been scared to go back into that same spot. So it affected me pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, man, that's weird. I've never heard of that. You know.
Yeah, it was not good.
Mhm. So, how are your abilities now as compared to when you were younger?
I still I can still hear voices sometimes.
Mhm.
I am told a lot of stuff, so kind of like a psychic, but I don't like to call myself that. It used to be like 24 hours a day nonstop, and that slowed down quite a bit. So
Would you mind if I asked, like, what did you hear exactly?
um one example, um sometimes I had my friend's brother, who I'd never met, came to me, and he actually was still alive, and he basically explained to me that he had 2 weeks left to live, and he described a picture he wanted at the funeral, um, kind of told me all this information, and I had to tell his sister that. And until I told her, it repeated and repeated. So, like, it would keep me up all night long. So finally, I had to tell her. And unfortunately, he did pass away 2 weeks later. But then she showed me what picture I described. And those ones are hard. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of yeah. That's really strange. I've never heard that either. But yeah, that's really strange.
mm-hmm. Other
Did
times
did
it will just be basic stuff, I'm told. But it
okay.
repeats until I tell people. So
Okay. Okay. Well, do you have these experiences when you go to a haunted area or a haunted location?
I do sometimes. I can feel stuff also, and I can sense stuff, and I've kind of started testing it more, like
Okay.
having them not tell me about a location and then see what I get from it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea too. What about you, Craig? Do you have any abilities or any kind of gifts or?
Um, I can sometimes sense stuff in the rooms that would be close to me or whatnot. Sometimes I get weird vibes in different sections of the asylum, or where I can almost say, "Hey, there's something here with us." And even when I say something like that, sometimes our equipment's going off, or it's there's stuff happening around us when I sense it. So maybe I'm really sensing it, or I don't know.
Yeah. One of the weird things that I have, and I don't know if it's an ability or a gift, but I always smell stuff when it's not there. It's like I'll tell people, "Hey, do you smell these flowers? Do you smell this perfume? Do you smell, banana cake or whatever's going on?" And they're like, "Man, I
And
don't smell nothing," But I always smell. I don't know if it means anything, or maybe I'm having a minor stroke. I don't know, but
that
yeah,
stuff
I
does
always,
happen a lot though with paranormal experiences.
yeah,
We have found that a lot.
yeah,
Yep. Even at the asylum, there's been like cigar smoke, cigarette smoke
Hmm.
in the tunnels and stuff.
yeah. My dad passed away in 2012, and he used to smoke. So every now and then I'll smell smoke.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it's him or not, but I'll smell smoke. Um, so like I said, he passed away in 2012. I'll tell you a crazy story about me. Um, I moved to San Antonio in 2017. I lived there for a couple of years, well, not in San Antonio, but outside of San Antonio. But I always kind of felt like my dad was around. And one day I was upstairs and my daughter was downstairs. I was throwing clothes down to her. Hey, wash this, or we were gonna wash that. And the light switch came on right next to my head, or right next, on the wall, and it actually like flicked on. The light came on. And I just always thought that was my dad. A couple of years later, I'm winding up coming back to Houston, and I'm standing in the kitchen. And my mom's at the bar, and I'm telling my mom, I always felt like dad's around me. Me and my dad were really, really close. We were like best friends. And I said, and I always felt that he was around me. And I was telling her the story about the light switch. And right when I was telling her the story, the light switch comes on in the kitchen.
Oh wow.
It flicked on. Yeah. So I always thought maybe that was my dad,
Oh,
being around.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I always
Yeah.
say, when you were saying about smelling stuff, we use all this equipment when we're paranormal investigating, but it's really important to use all of your senses. So,
Yeah.
smell and feel and just be in the moment is what we
Yeah.
always say.
Speaking of equipment, do you guys have any favorite piece of equipment that you like to use?
We have a
Not
new
all.
favorite.
Yeah, yeah, we do, don't we? The tripwire, or I think that's what you're thinking
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We got a tripwire and it's a long rope that has different lights on it. And
Okay.
if something gets close to it, that light will light up. It's pretty cool.
Kind of like a K2 meter, but in a rope length, and it lights up for different colors for how close the spirits are.
Hmm. And it can go on command, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And you can put it down long hallways, so if something's walking down past it, it's going to light up the direction of whatever the ghost is going.
Yeah. You know what you guys should use, and I use this when I do my Bigfoot thing. Is I get those little chem lights, the kind you snap and you shake them up,
Yep.
But that didn't look right on camera, but you know what I'm saying. Um, you can get them and crack them and stick them down a long hallway, maybe hang them and see if anything messes with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know. That's what I like to do when I go out Bigfoot. I'll hang them out there. Every now and then you'll see them shaking around and moving around. But I had a friend of mine. He had a real good story uh, where he actually saw one of the creatures grab the light and pull it up to its face to look at it. You can see.
Oh
He said his
wow.
whole face lit up. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So I always thought that probably be a good idea to hang them on the hallway
Yeah.
or something. Or even a
Hmm.
doorway.
Yeah,
Yep.
we use
So
things like the light up cat toys too, those cat
yeah,
balls.
right.
Those work really good too. So you don't always have to have expensive equipment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's enough expensive stuff out there.
Hmm.
Do you guys ever do residentials?
Yes, we do. So we do the private investigations for people like residentials. Those are always free, and we're doing that to help people.
Right.
And then we do our tours where the public can experience what we experience and see these cool buildings and learn the history and what we do. And then we do our own trips so we can go and explore everywhere.
Mhm. So what did you like your immediate family or even friends for that matter think about what you guys do?
Most of my friends most of them are actually all into the ghost hunting,
Okay.
so there's very few that aren't. Some of my family members are very, very religious, and we don't talk a lot for those reasons because I don't know. I think they think that ghost hunting is kind of like dip, diving or delving. I can't even say the
Yeah.
word into the like bad realms or something, so to
Right.
speak.
For
What
me,
about you, Melissa?
everyone seems very accepting, and they think it's really cool. And um, I work in a regular um, business type job, and I was so scared for people to find out what I did, and everyone really likes it. And my license plate says haunts, so now it's kind of everyone knows if
Right.
there's anything with haunted or anything, they know it's me.
Yeah. So, I started this job. I'm in the printing business, and the printing business is like it's like a big fraternity. Everyone knows everyone, right?
Mhm.
And I started this job, and uh, I was there maybe a couple of weeks, and my old boss came to look at some equipment. And when he came in, he saw me. He goes, "Hey man, what's up? We're talking. You know, we all get along real good." And, my new boss was like, "Hey, you guys know Joe?" And he was like, "Yeah, Joe worked for us for 15 years, you know." And we were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, Joe's into Bigfoot. And he has his own podcast." I was like, "Oh man, don't tell these guys this stuff." And it's funny. It was just but they were accepting of it. They asked me questions all the time, and even one of my coworkers was actually on my show because he had a near death experience twice. So he
Wow.
was on my show, and for the most part, everyone kind of gravitates towards me and asks me questions or tell me their experiences, and
Mhm.
it's all been pretty good. I get a lot of teasing, but it's all in fun. So it's not a bad thing at all, and it's funny because I'll have friends and family come up to me or call me or message me, "Hey, this happened, and what's going on here?" I had one of my cousins actually sent me she has like the Ring or whatever on the outside security system. And she's like, "Man, we're freaking out. There's this ball of light that comes across our screen." So she sent it to me, and I'm looking at it, and I text her back and say, "That's a damn
It's a
bug going
bug.
across your camera."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or a
you can see
spider.
the little legs.
We
But
get a lot of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was hilarious, man. It was so funny. But I'm glad they reached out to me.
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
solved that case pretty quick for them. I felt like I
Good
did
job.
something.
Good job.
Yeah. Are you guys Canadian or American? I'm Texan. That's what I am.
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
the cheeseheads.
Yeah, that's decent.
Jesus.
Cool, man. So what do you guys have coming up? You got any investigations coming up? Did COVID slow you down?
Not really. Well, we had to move some of the tours that we do up a couple weeks, but it seemed like everybody was out there looking for something to do. So last year we sold out most of our tours in 3 weeks because everybody had nothing to do and the tours were still going on. So for us, it wasn't too bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, right now we have 4 locations that we do tours for the public regularly. And then our big thing coming up is Craig and I are actually purchasing a haunted school. So that is going to be an adventure in itself. So
Mhm.
we're really excited.
Have you guys
Yeah,
been to that location?
Yes,
a
yes.
little bit. Yep.
Yeah. And how's that as far as activity goes?
We have had some stuff. We had a girl come across. She said hi. She said she was 6 years old. So we did have some good activity. And we find the more that you kind of go to a location and they learn that you are there to communicate, it kind of builds and builds. So, and bad stuff doesn't have to happen somewhere for stuff to happen
Yeah.
for activity.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got to we'll be having a doll room there, so this crazy dolls of all different types that people are donating. We're going to be doing a lot of remodeling there, and the minute you start remodeling a place, usually stuff starts to come out to speak to you because you're changing
Yeah.
their setting.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a Bigfoot room.
Yeah, there
Gary,
you go.
heck yeah. I'll send you copies of some of these casts I got and
Yep.
some pictures and stuff. Yeah.
We're gonna have a
So it
library,
doesn't
so
just have to be ghost. We could bring in the other.
Yeah, the other weirdos.
yeah,
Get some UFO stuff, some
Yeah, there
Bigfoot.
you
We'll
go.
we'll get a little of all that in there.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good deal. Um, Let me tell you a real quick story too. I'm sorry, I know you guys are the guests, but so I was remodeling the old house when I was talking about, and my cousin was there with all my other cousins. All us Mexicans have all our cousins that do construction, right? And they were standing in the kitchen. They were kind of going through what they were going to do the next day when they came in, and we're going to start tearing down this wall or tearing down that wall, whatever. We were doing the hallway and the restroom. And my cousin looks down at his arm, and he's kind of squeezing his arm a little bit, like he's confused. And He looks over at my other cousin who's kind of standing, I don't know, 5, 6 feet away from him. He's talking again. He looks down at his arm. He looks at my cousin. He goes, "Man, what are you doing?" And my cousin's like, "I'm not touching you." And he goes, "Man," he goes, "someone's grabbing my arm." And so he moves over to the corner where he can see everyone, and he squeezes, and he looks down at his arm again. He's like, "Joe, come here." And he walks over there to me, and he grabs my arm, and he squeezes it really, really hard. He's like, "This is what it feels like. It feels like someone's squeezing my arm."
Oh wow.
So me and my kids were like, "Okay, we'll tell you everything that happened in the house." We started telling him all the stories. The next day when he came in and started working, it was early in the morning. He says, "Hey, come here, check this out." He shows me his arm, and he's got fingerprint bruises on his arm. And
Wow. Wow.
and I think it's from the remodeling that they knew he was going to do
Yep.
the remodeling.
Yeah, we
That
find
was
a lot of activity kind of really builds up when people remodel.
yeah. I think that's a pretty interesting concept or theory, whatever you want to call it. When you start remodeling, that's when you get a lot of activity, and you hear that a lot too. I always thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know why they do that. They just not want you interfering in their space, or
Yeah,
They
just
don't, they don't like to see things changed. You're
right.
changing what they're used to. So even if you're a ghost that walks around the haunted location, suddenly you're changing a doorway or moving it to to a different spot. They might be confused.
Yeah. So, what's like some of the most compelling evidence that you guys have captured?
for me, it actually had to do with my brother. He passed away a little over 20 years ago, and I'll make the story short, but
Go
um,
ahead.
he was a construction worker and he was ran over by one of the workers, and I always blamed that worker. So the story I knew was that my brother was just placing flags down and the guy turned and ran him over. I wrote a book with Craig and my dad was reading it. So this is 20 years later. And I wrote about how I investigated my dad's house. And I have a recording from a ghost box where my brother said, "Sorry, I was killed. Eric messed up." So basically, my brother said that he messed up, like it was his fault. Well, then my dad sat me down and he's like, um, "I never knew that you blamed that guy. I need to tell you what really happened." And he's like, "Your brother walked in front of the machine to clean it and didn't tell them, so it was his fault." And he's like, "I never told you that." So here it took 20 years and a ghost box session for me to find out what happened to my brother. And that just amazes me that, then I could have forgive that guy. So it was my brother who passed away
Mhm.
that told me that so that I could finally forgive the guy who did it. And I, it was, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tried to make that story really short. So
right. Yeah. I like that's a good story. That's a good story. It had to be a burden off your shoulders too.
it was just a weight lifted because,
Mm.
like I just held on to that blame or
Right.
just, blaming him. And now I feel horrible that I blamed that guy so long, but to have your brother that passed away be the one to
Yeah.
tell you what really happened is just crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Craig, top that.
Um,
Yeah, top that, Craig.
Actually, in 2015, my girlfriend that I was dating at the time passed away from a tumor on her spinal cord. And she used to make little jokes to me because she knew I was a ghost hunter. She would say, "When I pass away, I'm going to haunt you." So, funny, not funny, but she did pass away in 2015. Her mom asked me to come over to her house and see if she was there. So I came over, brought the ghost box, but as I was standing there waiting to talk to her mom, I heard a voice behind me say, "Craig, please talk." So it was her voice, clearly. And I turned on the ghost box session, and immediately she goes, "Hi, Craig, and I miss you, Mom," and stuff like that. And I thought, well, if I can talk to her there, is it possible to talk to her in other locations? We as ghost hunters, we're always under this theory, or people kind of throw that theory into your head that ghosts can only talk to you in one location, the place where they died. And I didn't believe that was true. So I've gone to other locations to try to communicate with her. And for probably about 3 years after she passed away, I was able to communicate with her on the ghost box. I'm almost on like a weekly basis in different locations. And one time, I used to have a little nickname for her, and I asked on the ghost box. I said, "Renee, what was the nickname that I used to give you that I would call you. And on the ghost box, she goes, "I'm your munchkin." And that was what I called her.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think the amazing part of it that helped build me as a ghost hunter, um, to kind of show the world, hey, you can talk to your loved ones no matter where you're at. You don't have to be in the place they died. You can talk to them in other places too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's very true. Like I said, I think my dad followed me to San Antonio and back home. He might be here. I can tell. I think there's stuff that happens here. I don't know if it's him, and I don't feel it. If that makes sense, but
Mhm.
who knows for sure.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think happens when we die?
Hmm.
Are any of you guys religious or?
I I call myself self spiritual. I am
Okay.
religious, but and I do believe in. I mean, I believe in heaven, but I do believe that you can go to heaven. But I also think you can be with the people here on Earth and watch over them. I don't think they're stuck anywhere, per se. Sometimes maybe, but I think that they can be in 10 places. Like they're just kind of all over and they can be where they want to be at that time is I guess what I believe.
Yeah, and I'm Lutheran. I went to a Lutheran school, so it was pretty much crammed down our throats about heaven and hell, and it was. So I believe there's a heaven. Now, I watched a movie the other day. What was it called? The Shack. I don't know if you ever saw that or read the movie or
No.
read the book, The Shack. It talks about how there's a heaven, but even technically speaking, there was no hell. Everybody goes to heaven because God forgives. So it was kind of an interesting movie to watch. So for that part of it, if there is a hell, I would hope nobody goes there. But I like heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm more of a spiritual person. I don't know what happens. I really don't. I wish I did, but
Mhm.
I think that our soul continues, and uh,
Yeah.
and like I guess we have the ability or the to come back and forth from wherever we go.
Yeah,
And I,
that's what I think.
and I think sometimes people do get stuck here for whatever reason. You know, um, I don't know. Kind of interesting concept. Hear other people's theories. About that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you were talking about was how you can catch. You don't have to be in a specific location to find people who do die or anything like that. And we were talking about that about I've got friends who go out into the Bigfoot world and have gone out into the woods and captured EVPs and maybe other paranormal experiences. What do you guys think about that?
I think a lot of times with us, we get spirits in locations that really have no place in that location. But I think when they see that we can communicate with them, I think that's kind of sometimes what brings them there is if they want to communicate, they'll come to you because they know you can do it.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
can be anywhere, really.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Craig?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, when like she said, wherever you go and you investigate, the minute they know that you can talk to them, they'll start coming out and talking to you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Or even at least trying to communicate with them.
Hmm.
They probably try to communicate with you too.
Yep.
And that's what we were talking about too. I think a lot of stuff in the Bigfoot world gets paranormal stuff gets thrown in there with Bigfoot. Whether, like I said, people who hear footsteps in the woods or people who have stuff thrown at them, or even see shadows for that matter. Hey, there's something moving over there. It was on
Yep.
2 feet. That doesn't mean it was a Bigfoot. And I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but I think people can kind of just automatically, well, it had to be a Bigfoot. Or I just don't think that everything in the woods is Bigfoot. There could be alien for all we know, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's kind of the same with what we do with Ghost. Not everything is paranormal, not everything is ghost. And you have to know, you can't get excited over everything. You have to be smart about it and know,
yeah,
not everything is.
yeah, yeah. It,
Yeah.
it was funny. I was out in the woods last Monday. I was home with COVID, right? So I was quarantined in the woods,
In
and
the
I was
woods.
going down a trail, and I went off to a game trail, and I saw a print I was like, holy shit, there's a print right here, right? It was, you couldn't make out toes or anything, but I could see the print when I got down there, and you could just barely see the little treads from someone's shoe. So
Oh,
yeah, it's hard not to get excited, like you said. It's just hard not to get excited. Yeah, and but I've been out there with people who like
yeah. Yep.
hear a branch snap or crack, and automatically it's a Bigfoot. Or people who see lights in the sky, it's got to be a UFO. And I believe in, like I said, I believe in all that stuff, and um, it's just hard to really just stay calm sometimes, because you want to see something, you want to hear something, and you can get kind of caught up in a moment. I think Melissa froze on us.
I think so.
She ghosted us.
Pretty much. Oh, wait, now she's moving a little. Hey, lost you for a minute.
I say my screen went away.
Yeah.
So what's on your bucket list? Do you have a bucket list
That
of
was
places you want to go
paranormal.
to? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was paranormal. The bucket list, that's, well, I went to a place that I always wanted to go and actually found out to be probably the scariest place I've ever gone out of state. And that was Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Amazing place. Definitely want to go back there again. On my bucket list, and it's a long, long flight, and I kind of have a fear of flying, so this one would be really bad for me, but it's the Bram Castle in Romania. Dracula Castle. Yep. I would love to go there. And Alcatraz, we'll throw that in there.
I was going to say Alcatraz and the Queen Mary. So both of mine are California. I had a huge bucket list, but Craig's kind of helped with me checking off that one by one, because I had like Villisca and
Fox Hollow.
Fox Hollow. That was at the top of my bucket list, and we did that one. So it's kind of exciting when you get to check off those bucket list items.
What are some of the strangest things that have happened to you guys while investigating?
I get touched quite a bit with something like to grab my sweatshirt on locations. The asylum, not too long, we opened up the morgue in the asylum. It wasn't open before, so we had to break through the wall of the one section to get into the part of the morgue in the asylum. And after that night, I was there doing a tour, and something scratched me like violently, like 3 or 4 times on 2 separate occasions. Even one of the guests got punched in the eye. He was happy about it, though. It's like, oh my God, something happened to me. It's amazing. But that night was kind of intense and quite a bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of stuff like that, where you're seeing apparitions and hearing voices and getting touched. But to me, the most amazing thing is when we go over our audio after the investigation. So just with our voice recorder, we're going over, and the things that we don't hear with our ears, that just amazes me every time, when there's like answers to your questions that we didn't even know we're getting answered. And that just gives me chills every time. It's so exciting.
I've only done one EVP session when I was living in that house. Well, I didn't even do it. My daughter saw a figure in the room, and she came out and called me. It was like midnight. She's like, Dad, something went from one corner of the room to the other corner. And I told my son right away, I said, hey, go get my recorder. The recorder I take out in the woods with me. I said, bring it to me. I want to check to make sure it's working, the batteries. He said, okay. So he didn't even come to me. Him and my youngest went into the room, and he came out, man, he was white as a ghost. He's like, Dad, you got to hear this. And he played it, and he asked the question, is anybody here with us? And you hear a voice go, yeah. It's like that. Yeah. But I'll send it to you guys. I'll definitely send it to you, Craig, after we get off the show. It was just, the first time I ever heard anything like that, it was crazy. That was a crazy place to live at. And then I used to have a freezer full of meat, hog, duck, deer, squirrel, rabbit. I used to kill every damn thing that moved, right? And my daughter one day called me up. She goes, hey, Dad, I made some duck, some tacos. She said, come over and get you some. I said, okay. So I drove over there. She had her boyfriend at the time that was there. And he didn't believe in any of that stuff. And we were talking to him. I was like, yeah, man, we had the kitchen faucets come on. The shower in our room has come on.
Wow.
The shower in the main room, it was the kind that had that big knob. You had to pull it out and then turn it for hot and cold, that sucker would come on all the time by itself. So something was pulling that damn knob out. And then, the kitchen sink had a knob you had to turn. We were telling him about that. He was just like, kind of looking at us like we were crazy. And right on cue, the sink comes on. And he turns around, he's looking at us like we did something to it. He walks over there, he turns it off, and he's kind of looking around, looking under the cabinets. Like, we didn't touch it. We didn't touch it. That was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool place, man. It had a lot of activity.
One story at my house, we actually have a cemetery way behind our house, but behind our house. And we were getting home at like 3 a.m. and my husband yelled out the window. He's like, "Hey, neighbors, how's it going?" And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm talking to the neighbors." And we laughed about it because he was talking to the cemetery. And we got home and we went to bed, and I had to get up for work at like 5 a.m. And I got up, and every single cupboard in my house was wide open, every drawer, every like closet. And I made my husband come out, and I said to him, I'm like, "We don't talk to the neighbors anymore."
No.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible to, I don't know, invoke activity.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
we try
I
not
think,
to do that, but
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
I
we
had
do.
a friend of mine. He moved into a place and he was joking around with his wife because he found out that the guy that lived there previously had killed himself in the kitchen. Um, when they talked to the lady, they were remodeling the kitchen, and she didn't tell him anything about it. Um, so when they were moving in, one of the neighbors came across the street and was like, "Hey, there's you got Jack's house." Like, I don't know Jack. He's like, "Yeah, Jack lived here. He killed himself in the kitchen." And he snapped. That's why they were remodeling the kitchen. And he went through the cabinets and he found a bullet hole where they had spackled over it. Yeah.
oh,
And so
geez.
and so when it got dark, he started flashing the lights off and on. He was telling his wife, "Jack's gonna get you. Jack's gonna get you." And yeah, it didn't take long for they started having activity in that house, and
Wow.
I
he
can
blamed himself for
imagine.
it. He actually
Yep.
blamed himself for it because he saw, I don't know what Hat Man or whatever you want to call it, walk down this hallway. He said, "Man," he goes, he had a long trench coat and black hat. His father-in-law actually saw it standing outside the house, looking at his house. His dog went ape shit when he saw him,
Oh,
and he,
geez, I
and he actually
bet.
followed them down the street. And he said when he turned the corner, he made a right turn, and when they got down there, he said he wasn't even there anymore.
Wow.
So yeah,
That would be
so
creepy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, still to this day, my friend blames himself for some bad stuff happened there to him, and I don't want to talk
Hmm.
about that too much, but he blamed himself for it. And
Yeah.
yeah, but that was a long time ago. That was like man, 20 years ago. But,
Wow.
yeah, I think people can even playing around can invoke activity, and if they're not
Hmm.
careful,
Yep.
you know, yeah,
Sometimes I believe too when like urban legends are kind of told over and over again. I think sometimes stuff is created with like the energy of
yeah,
all these people being scared in these stories kind of like manifest something. I think that happens sometimes too.
yeah. It's funny. I think one of those stories are the Black Eyed Kids.
Uh-huh.
And, I don't know how true that is, but I think in some way that's been manifested. You know,
Hmm. Yep.
because
I
it's
think all the
stuff.
different energies and just that story being told and told and told, it just starts to manifest into the fear that you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a creepy. I don't know if you guys ever read into that or looked into that, but that's kind of creepy stuff, man. The Black Eyed Kids. Yeah,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if I want to answer the door when those knock on my door.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about Bigfoot in general? Is it a real creature? Is it a paranormal creature? Supernatural? Alien? What do you guys think?
It's kind of weird that it's the fact that nobody's looks like she froze again. The fact that
I'll
nobody's
let
ever
Craig talk
really
first
got a
because
clear
my
picture. I mean, really clear.
Right.
There's some out there, but they're not really documented as the guy in an ape suit at one point or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think the best videos out there is from 1967, the
Yeah.
Patterson Gimlin film.
Mhm.
Yeah, they've done so much work on that. They've done so many um, enhancements on it. It's actually a pretty cool video to look at. Which I, for one, think it's the real deal. I've talked to different people who were like in the makeup world and costume world, and one of the gentlemen, his name's Bill Munns. He's actually worked on the original Planet of the Apes,
Oh
and
wow.
he was like, yeah, he's like, if that was a costume, that these guys would be millionaires. Whoever made that costume, because that was a better costume than the ones that the Planet of the Apes actually had. Um, and the thing he says about that is that, yeah, you can put somebody in a costume, but you can't fake the proportions, like from the shoulder to the elbows, or from the elbows to the wrists, or the hips to the knees to the ankles. He goes, no, those proportions are all wrong.
Yep.
And so I think it's the real deal. And then
So
she had breast.
So are the white ones Yetis then?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there've actually
Yeah.
been white ones spotted around here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some friends of mine who did my decal for my truck. Excuse me. When I went to go pick up the decal, he was like, "Hey, what's up with this?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I research Bigfoot. I go out in the woods and look for Bigfoot." And he told me, he goes, "My uncles lived out in Nacogdoches, which is about, I don't know, hour and a half outside of Houston." And he said that when they were little, they were walking down the tracks. They had that white rock, you know. He said they got about, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 feet from one that was crouched down. They didn't even see it until it stood up because it was white, and it stood up and it walked out to the woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If
yeah.
you get a chance, look up the Bray Road Beast. Bray, Bray, Road
Yeah,
Beast.
the Beast of Bray Road.
It's in Wisconsin, not far from
Yeah,
us, and
yeah.
they had a lot of sightings of that creature that stands on two legs and can run as fast as a car and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think Linda Godfrey wrote a book on that one, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. Uh, Abe says albino. I think some of them are albino, but I don't think all of them are albino. I think there's just some that get older and they get white. It's like,
Great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause, yeah, there's plenty of sightings of gray ones. I think that just comes with age, like any other animal. Look at this guy right here. It says he had a black-eyed kid asking for directions. Replied, "Hey, mister, can I get a ride, mister?" With no phone and his voice. And then he goes on to say his voice creeped me out. His pupils were as big as his iris.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. Oops, hit that. So yeah. So you guys have any advice for people who might want to get into the paranormal world? Do you have any suggestions for them?
Definitely when you're getting into the paranormal and the ghost hunting, always research the places that you're going. Make sure you have permission to be on the property of where you're going. That happens a lot where you end up in private property and get arrested and trespassing charges and worse. So
Yeah.
always make sure you have permission.
I would say too, kind of like what I did is seek out people who do what we do and try to learn from them. And nobody's an expert, but just kind of learn what we do and build from that. But I think it's great to have a paranormal community, kind of like the Bigfoot community, and just find like-minded people.
Right. And stay away from the people who tend to cause drama. Every field has it: paranormal, Bigfoot, UFO, and
Yep.
it's always the
Absolutely.
same little group.
Yep.
Just or the same person, and yeah, just watch out for that kind of stuff too. There's a lot of unnecessary crap that goes on sometimes, and really petty.
Yeah.
Like I said, and everyone has it. Unfortunately, I guess as long as you have people, you're going to have that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drama.
Yeah. But yeah, where's I going with that? Yeah, very true. Drama. But yeah, man, I think that's good advice for people. Just don't research the place, research the people you're going out with. Yeah, I think that's good. What places have you gone that have really like intrigued you? That places that you just really want to go back to, and just for whatever reason.
For me,
Trans-Allegheny. Sorry. For me, it's Trans-Allegheny Asylum. Like I said, I had the most activity, and I've gone to a lot of places out of state, and some that I love to go to, but just never really get a lot of stuff, and you pay a lot of money to go to a lot of these places. And
Mm.
Trans-Allegheny had the most activity of all the places that I've been on, just this high level of activity wise.
Yeah, for me, I loved Villisca Ex Murder House. It's a major tragedy what happened there, but we had some amazing experiences. Also, I really like the Sally House in Kansas. Um, and I would love to just experience those again and kind of dig deeper into the evidence that we collected.
Someone asked a question here. I don't even know what this is, but do you believe in unconscious sensitive? I don't.
I'm not sure if I can answer that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get answers a lot in dreams. I don't know if that's what they mean with their question, but for instance, one night I dreamt that our neighbor's car was covered in duct tape, like every inch of it. So I woke my husband up, and he got up at like 4 a.m. to go to work, and he was in the military. He came in and ran and got me. He's like, "Get outside." I go outside, and their car was covered in duct tape. Well, the next day we found out that they went off the road in a flood, and the husband died in the water, and they had to duct tape their car together to get home. So I dreamt about it. One other time I was in Wisconsin, and I dreamt about the stupidest thing was my dad's treadmill in Kansas. And in my dream, I was told what was wrong with it and how to fix it. So I called him and I'm like, "Is your treadmill working?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, I dreamt that you need to do this." And sure enough, it worked. So I don't know if that's what they meant with the question, but I do have stuff that comes to me like in my dreams too.
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I never even heard that term. So
I was gonna say I might be answering that totally wrong, but
yeah. Well, it was a good answer. I like that answer. It was pretty good. Where do you guys sit on past lives? You think we lived past lives? You think we've lived multiple lives?
I don't know. There's times where I have deja vu, like I swear to God, I
Right.
did something. Yeah.
Right.
One time that I was ice skating, in fact, and I fell and hit my head, and I remembered actually doing that in a past life. It was weird.
So I have had deja vu, but for some reason I just have such a hard time wrapping my head around that,
Right.
around like past lives, and I don't know if it's just too hard for me to think of that. So I try not to think about it. I like to think that you're here and your spirit lives on, and I don't know,
You got
it's
one
just a
shot.
hard one for me. I don't know. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. 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 I don't know, man. Doing this, getting out of the Bigfoot world and talking to so many different people, you hear a bunch of, I don't want to say crazy, like people are crazy, but you hear crazy stories, and people don't have any reason to lie. At least I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they don't, or that there's not something wrong with them, and I'm not making fun of that. But a lot of people that I talk to are just normal, everyday people like us, and they talk about stuff like that, and it's just like, you know, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So
So when you
I don't
asked
know.
about Bigfoot before, I didn't answer. Not to jump back, but I've never had an actual experience. But I did have a Bigfoot dream once, and I wasn't
Okay.
even gonna tell it. But basically, he talked to me, but it was like telepathically in my
Okay.
dream, and he was explaining to. He was like throwing trees, almost like Lincoln logs,
Okay.
and he was explaining how the reason people never see him is that they have two dimensions. Like there's a dimensional world that they can kind of jump back and forth on, and they like to be here, but they could jump to the other one. And it was really interesting. And I woke up just kind of thinking like, huh, I don't know.
Hmm.
But it was an interesting dream. And it's just weird because I don't know much about Bigfoot and all that
Right. How
stuff.
long
So
ago was
for
this
me to
dream?
dream about it was weird.
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't a woodchuck? They chuck wood.
No, it
Yeah. There
was
you go. Yeah.
it was a Bigfoot.
How long ago was this dream?
This was, I would say, about a year ago. But
Okay. Okay.
it was
Yeah.
very realistic, and like I said,
Right.
I just woke up kind of pondering it, like, could
Uh-uh.
there be any truth to that.
Right. So, I mean, you're not the first person to talk about that kind of stuff. Um, I was certainly on the side that this is a flesh and blood creature. That was
Mhm.
my, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. But it's like I said, talking to more and more people, and um, not everyone can be crazy. Not everyone can be lying. Not everyone can be, full of shit. Um, I've talked to people who, like I said, just everyday people just like us, and like, hey, this is what I saw, and you're the
Yeah.
only one I'm telling, and I'll never tell the story again. Because people think they're crazy. Just like people who get abducted, by aliens. There's like, I'm gonna tell you this one time, and then that's it. And so I mean, they have no reason to lie. So
Hmm.
who knows, man? Who really really knows until someone actually captures one. No one can say one thing or the other because there are
You
no
just don't
Bigfoot
know.
experts. There aren't.
Yep.
You know, anyone who's an expert in UFOs and Bigfoot and the paranormal probably work for the government. They're probably the only ones who know
Yeah.
all the truth. And if they talk, they usually don't live too much longer after that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just always something that just always intrigued me since I was a little kid. You know, so it's good to be doing this. I like it.
Absolutely. It's good to have
Nice.
something to be passionate
I know we
about.
talked
And
about you guys doing some Bigfooting, or we're going to Bigfoot at one time. Whatever happened with that? You guys ever think you'll do that
so
again?
we were going to do up in the northern woods of Wisconsin with a group of people who are Bigfoot researchers, and we were going to go out with them, but they wanted to bring the paranormal in with it. So we were supposed to bring our ghost hunting equipment, and we were going to kind of combine the two fields. And it didn't happen, but I would love to still try that.
Right.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think you guys will do good.
Hmm.
I think you guys will definitely get some paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And probably surprise a lot of Bigfoot people.
Yeah.
Especially when they're hearing the same things over and over again, and then realizing we're
Yeah.
going to do something paranormal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think working together in the fields is good too.
Right. Yeah. And isn't it weird how like sometimes there are places here in Texas that where um, people will see UFOs, have paranormal experiences, and have Bigfoot all in like in the same area. Do you think it's all
Uh-huh.
tied or is it all coincidence?
Um, answer that, Craig.
Answer that, Craig. Could be all tied together.
Yeah.
You never know. I guess it's just if you got aliens in one spot, I guess the paranormal could easily follow.
Right. Yeah. And I think if you believe like in ley lines and stuff like that, I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. And water,
Yeah,
water,
Water
which
is a
the
source. Yep.
yeah, it's a good conduit, and so I think that does a lot. Open portal, yeah, maybe an open portal around there somewhere. Who knows?
A lot of the places that we do supposedly have open portals, or we're told that they do. So
Yeah, yeah, I believe in that too. And, I know there's a place here in Texas. I can't remember where it's at, but they say there's like a portal that's open for paranormal activity. I can't
mhm.
remember where it's. I think it's up in around the Dallas area, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's like a popular place everyone goes to, and they said there's a portal there, and every psychic medium's ever gone there has felt it. So
Wow.
yeah,
who knows? You know, who knows what other stuff happens? So like on your team, do you have other mediums and psychics?
I do not.
We have a few
Melissa,
that can feel stuff, but
Yeah,
Melissa has some gifts, so
yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, cool, man. We're coming up towards the end of the show. You guys have anything you want to add or say to people?
well. If anybody's interested, we did me and Melissa co-written 2 books. Oh, she's gonna hold them up. Haunted Expeditions in the Midwest and Archives of a Ghost Hunter, Volume 2, which you can find on Amazon or Lulu.com. And then our website, foxvalleyghosthunters.com. And we also, for the best place to follow us, because we will talk to you if anybody has any questions or whatnot. Either me, Melissa, or other team members will talk to you on Fox Valley Ghost Hunters on Facebook.
Cool. Just like Abe said, cool.
And
Yeah. How
we
long
do
did you write those
offer.
books?
So our Haunted Expeditions in the Midwest, that one came out last year, and then Archives of a Ghost Hunter Volume 2 came out the prior year. This year we have a brand new book that's going to be coming out, I would say like mid-April for our next book.
And I have,
Show them again if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Show them again.
So that is the last one.
Okay.
And then
there we go.
Cool. And they're all available on Amazon, correct?
Yep.
correct.
And I have actually 3 other ones available too. I got Archives of a Ghost Hunter Volume 1 and Wisconsin's Most Haunted Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm working on the book myself, so when it comes out, I'll let everybody know.
Absolutely.
I'm still writing it.
It takes a while.
It takes a while.
I didn't think it would take me this long. I had this idea in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna knock this out. 6 months later, I'm still working on it.
Yep, it takes a long
Yeah, but it's
time. And then we do have all of our public tours too. So if people,
She's fading out. All our public tours.
When's your next event then? Your public tour?
we offer
the
public
next
tours.
There you go. Yeah, our next event, technically, probably the Sheboygan Asylum will have the tours, and our new school that we got will be starting tours at our new school in probably April or May, roughly.
Nice. So people keep an eye out for that, and you guys feel free. I don't know if you're members of the group or not, but if not, join and you guys can post away whatever you guys have going on. You want to post the links to your books? Go ahead and do that, man.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Thank
That's
you.
what a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people do that. If you have, I don't know, you guys have a YouTube channel yourselves or?
Yeah, under Fox Valley Ghost Hunters or under my name, Craig Nary.
Okay.
A lot of Fox Valley Ghost Hunter videos.
Nice. Cool, man. Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on, man. You guys did a great job. I know I talked a lot. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I talk a lot. So cool, man. It was great having you. Anything else you can think of you want to add?
Anything, Melissa? Go ahead.
I feel like every time I talk, my volume goes out. So no, we got a lot coming up. So yeah, just follow us if you want to see what we're up to.
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, thank you, Abe, for tuning in, buddy. I always appreciate that.
Thank
Abe's
you.
a good friend of mine. He has some crazy stories of himself, but
Nice.
yeah. But cool, man. Well, all right, guys. Everyone, good night, and everyone in the chat room, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And you guys are welcome to share the show away, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. Hold on.
You too.